Imagine you were looking for something under your bed and you see a big beetle. Would your reaction be, ew? Don't worry, you're not alone. However, by watching this video, your thoughts about insects may change. This video explains a lot about insects and pollination, and how insects are good for the environment. By watching this video, we hope that you will learn how to appreciate insects. The first big reason why we should appreciate insects is pollination.
Pollination is the process of insects transporting pollen from plant to plant as they eat nectar. Insects will transport pollen by inadvertently sticking it to the hairy parts of their bodies as they attempt to access nectar from inside the flower. Here, you can see a bee crawling over a cylinder-shaped flower. This bee will be collecting the pollen on its legs, and possibly its head as well. In this next clip, you cannot even notice the bee inside at the beginning. The reason for this is because to access the nectar, the bee had to completely immerse itself inside the flower. Because of this, the bee will collect pollen on its entire body. In this final clip, you will see a landing pad or umbrella-shaped flower. The wasp will collect the pollen on its legs as it crawls around the flower.
Every insect has a different life cycle. There are two major types of life cycles, complete and incomplete. Let's compare them. The simple or incomplete life cycle of a buffalo treehopper includes 3 stages: egg, nymph, and adult. The nymph looks like the adult, however, it is much smaller. Isn't it interesting to note that the treehopper spends 5 to 6 months in the winter as an egg, waiting for warm weather to hatch? The life cycle of the black fly is different from the buffalo treehopper. The black fly has 4 stages: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. This means the insect goes through a complete metamorphosis. It changes its body from a worm shape to one with wings that can fly. Isn't it interesting to know that when the black fly is in the stage of switching from a pupa to an adult, it forms a bubble underwater, and when it's ready to hatch as an adult, the bubble rises up from underneath the water and goes somewhere to dry itself off.
All insects have a head, thorax, abdomen, and 6 jointed legs. Many insects can share the same ecosystem because each kind of insect has a different physical aspect. Let's look at the legs for example. All insect legs have a femur, tibia, and tarsal. However, they are all different for each insect. For example, the buffalo treehopper has little hairs on its tarsal that help it grip the surface of leaves and tree bark. The little moth has hairy tarsals that it uses to crawl and perch. Different generations of different insects adapted to different habitats and climates. Insects also adapted to plants in their habitats. Insects are very picky. They only use certain plants for food and shelter.
All animals get their energy directly from plants, or by eating an organism that has already eaten a plant. Insects are the most important animals to pass the energy from plants to animals that can't eat plants, making them extremely vital to a healthy ecosystem. Some animals that depend on insects for food are spiders, reptiles, amphibians, rodents, and 96% of all terrestrial birds. In addition, most insects have evolved to digest only the chemicals in specific plants. Native plants. Native plants have been around long enough to be in sync with other species, whereas invasive species are plants that are more recently introduced to the ecosystem and are causing many issues with the local ecology. Humans have taken 95% of all natural land in America and turned it into cities, suburbs, and farms. But if we make the right choice and fill our backyards with native plants instead of invasive species, we can give back to animals what they've lost in their habitat. We can help our ecosystems thrive with more biodiversity. As you can see, insects need native plants instead of invasive plants to thrive with food and shelter during all stages of their life cycle. Even if you are planting native plants for insects, you are not solving all of their problems. Another problem they face is climate change.
It would be catastrophic if all the insects were to die. Climate change is a real threat to many species of insects. Climate change is a distinct change in the overall temperature of the Earth. It could make a place warmer or colder, or affect the amount of rain in that place. Climate change should be occurring at a much slower rate over thousands of years, but because of the actions of humans, we have caused it to happen at a much faster rate than is natural. This is because we use too many unhealthy fossil fuels that release greenhouse gases. If climate changes too quickly, certain plants will die. If these plants die, it will affect the insects that need them. For example, climate change will affect the Canadian swallowtail because it will affect the poplar trees that feed the caterpillars of this butterfly. Without the nutrients they need, insect species will die, causing a drastic reduction in their population, along with the populations that eat them. While it is not as obvious how northern bluets will be affected by climate change, it does not mean that they aren't being affected. It means that we do not know all the consequences of climate change.
Many humans view themselves as the superior species, and while we are a dominant species, we cannot survive as the only species of animals living on this earth. This is simply because, whether we acknowledge it or not, we rely on other animals, especially the insects so many people view as insignificant. If insect species have drastic reductions in their populations, then we humans will be in for some trouble with maintaining our population as well. But if we start now to help the insects, we will likely be able to save our species and many others. 3 ways that you can help the insects are to not rake up the leaves in the fall, or at least not most of them, because leaves are actually very important to some insect species, such as butterflies and bees. Butterflies use leaves as extra cover in the cold winter, and red-striped hair streaks lay their eggs in fallen oak leaves. A second way is to dig up invasive plants, clearing the way for native species to grow. Planting native plants is also helpful because most of the native insects will not be able to interact with unfamiliar plants, leading to native insect species reducing in population. This then affects many other species of animals as well.